Let's open our Bibles to the book of Proverbs, chapter 6. The last time we were studying, we were looking at the seven churches of Asia in the book of Revelation. And we look at those who refuse to turn to the Lord. And this made me think there are some people who refuse to look at the consequences. Okay? Now we know there are consequences, but others look at the consequences and just refuse. You remember that some time ago, Jerry Isabel, an evangelist who preaches with Copeland, died. And I think his death was because of heart problem. He was supposed to have heart operation like a bypass. Before COVID hit, the doctor diagnosed Jerry Isabel and said, you need to go through this operation. And he put it off. But then, of course, ultimately, there were few signs that he needs to go to the doctor. So he went to the doctor. And the doctor scheduled an operation for his heart to be remedied. Well, before the operation, the day of operation came, COVID hit. And during that time, you know that patients were being sent home as much as possible because Americans I think we're the hardest hit as far as the percentage of American victims are concerned, because America is now supposedly one of the most sick nations on earth with all the health expenditures that we are doing. And so, you know, the doctor did not follow up on him, and then COVID was lifted. When COVID was lifted, he was scheduled again for an operation because there is another episode. So they scheduled an operation, but instead of taking it a little bit more easy because of the diagnosis, he went on preaching. And he was ministering one night in front of this congregation. And he said to the people, I would like to lay hands on all of you tonight, but I'm very tired, he said. So I'm going to have to rest. He stepped down from the pulpit. A couple of hours later, I think he was rushed to the hospital, died. And it was not disclosed to his supporters. It was not disclosed to a lot of people who love him because he's a phenomenal guy. And during the funeral, well, not the funeral, but the memorial that they did at Eagle Mountain, finally Carolyn, the wife, spoke and said, and gave this stern warning and said, if you guys need to be checked, if you have a problem and the doctor said this needs to be done, she said, and during that time, if you look at her picture, she lost a lot of weight. She said, do not wait. Get the operation done right away. And the reason, primarily why Isabel, and he's still relatively young, considering his health, is because he died, is because he kept delaying what needed to be done. You know, when you delay, you actually act like you know what you're doing, even if you don't know what you're doing. And I was looking at that because I don't believe there is anybody who wants to go to hell. I don't believe there's anybody who wants to stay sick. I don't believe that there's anybody who wants to have an unfortunate life. Or I'm not convinced, unless the person is totally corrupt, blind, and stupid, I don't believe anybody wants to have a bad life. I think what we want is a very good life that will make us very happy. But then we know the consequences. And so I suppose Philippines is a gambling culture. And I suppose some believe that they can put off doing the right thing or applying the remedy that they need to apply because there is this notion that maybe they have enough time. Or maybe the diagnosis of the prognosis of the doctor is wrong. And maybe, just maybe, I'll just be able to escape this without doing anything. And so a lot of people fall into this trap. So I'll read to you an initial passage. Um, we can talk about, well, the title of this teaching is just simply delay. No? Let's look at Proverbs chapter 6, verse 10, a very famous proverb that we quote when we're dealing with the subject of laziness. But actually, laziness is not, I don't believe it's the appropriate translation here. Proverbs 6, verse 10, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, your need like a bandit. Okay, let me read it to you again. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, your need like a bandit. Now, the proverb that we just read is a picture of a slacker. Some translation use the word sluggard, some just lazy. And it says there that when you take time, have you been awakened by somebody? Your class is at 8 a.m. I don't know what the time of the school is here. And your mom says, it will take around 15 minutes to go to school or 30 minutes to go to school. And it's already 7 o'clock. You need to wake up. And somehow you have convinced yourself 15 more minutes or 5 more minutes. You even turn on the alarm. 5 more minutes. So the alarm sounded and you say, just 5 more minutes. A little slumber, a little sleep, a little folding of the hands. And your mom is screaming, you'll be late. No, mom, I know what I'm doing. 5 more minutes. And so you finally got up at around 7:45 and you say, it will only take me 1 minute to prepare. And then sooner or later you drove, you're screaming at each other, and you're late. And your mom says, now, you should have learned your lesson. Say, yes, mom. But the following day, you do exactly the same. You really believe that you can beat the time. And then, I remember I was in New York for the first time, and we were at this bridge. I don't know what this bridge is. And the one who picked me up from the airport, I think made the wrong turn. So we're in this bridge, and I don't know what he was doing. He just simply said, oh, God, help me. Oh, God, help me. I was saying, what? The guy is not a Christian, but he needs the help of God. Oh, God helps me. Well, he made an illegal U-turn. And when he made an illegal U-turn, he was able to make it, and there's no police. He said, oh, thank God. But a lot of people have been caught that way. And maybe that guy has been caught that way. You know, there's a photo enforce traffic, and you know it's already blue, and the traffic light is merciless. And you even pay, oh, let me make it. For what? For 15-second difference. So you're slapped with $75 penalty. But we think we can beat it, but we are given ticket all the time. We think we can make it, you know. And this proverb is about that. Now, this is not just talking about somebody who is lazy, but the concerns being addressed in the scriptures, of course, have eternal concerns, not just of this world. Because here is a guy who puts things off, delay things, put off things from time to time. In modern day application, we can say that here is a person who put off not just work from time to time, but also school, doctor's appointment, and many more. Sometimes projects that you have to turn in. But the most important thing that we like putting off is God. Even atheists during war, the Russians, they were praying Hail Mary when they are under fire. But they think, I think part of the reason is the way people present the gospel, the way we present the gospel. We present it as if we have all the time we need. Like we even say, hey, try God. Try what? Try God is like a vitamin, you know. If this vitamin doesn't work, you can try another one. There is no urgency. By the way, let me ask you this question. Do you know exactly when we're going to die? We don't, right? But we don't have that sense of urgency. We really believe we can keep putting things off. And when we believe we can keep putting things off, then urgency is gone. We can just simply take time. It's just like if you have a teacher that says, we know our teachers, okay, submission of your papers is on this day. Nobody will be allowed to be late. It will be a point off your grade or a letter off your grade. But we know the teacher is a liar. You know that when you delay, you can just simply talk to him or to her, and he will give you more time. And so we get used to it, and so we think that God is like that. That we can keep delaying and delaying, and we know the truth, we have heard the truth, we have been warned, and that's why we keep putting off turning to God for different reasons. Why does the sluggard then put off things? Why do we put off things? Why is it that when we know we need something done, why do we keep putting it off? You know, what kind of sickness is that? So in verse 6, the wise man here sent this slacker to the school. It was the school of the ants. You know, if you want to learn some excellent lessons, the wise man says, you fool, you go to the ant. You slacker, you go to the ant and learn from the ant. Now, the school of ants is very interesting. Ants are very small. Of course, there are different kinds of ants. But you will always see them in groups. I think rarely will you see ants as a single ant, okay? One of my professors before, he was a missionary in South Africa, and he said that there's an ant in Africa called the killer ants, that they attack you as a group, and it's very venomous, and you'll die. And he said he was a young boy in Africa because his parents were missionaries also, and it was hot. He was sitting by the window, and he said suddenly he felt some biting him, and immediately when some of the help in the house saw it, they say rush him to the hospital or he will die. It turned out to be this, they call it army ant, soldier ants, and they will attack you, but they're always in group, you know. So let's look at most of us know ants because of their hard work. That's the trait that we admire them or quote them the most for. But if you will look at it, the ant does not have the advantages that a slacker has. Look how small an ant is. Very small. They don't even go shopping for new dress, you know. It's just, that is an ant. Very small. You can ignore it. You can step on it. Now let me ask you this. Who has more advantage? That little ant or you? Huh? Is there any human being that you know that has less advantage than an ant? Ant is very small. It has no advantages over human beings, okay? They don't go to school, by the way. However, the ant has natural perceptiveness. It has a natural insight and discernment. They don't have a calendar. You can watch Disney movies about all of these creatures knowing how to speak different languages. They even have accents sometimes, you know. Can you imagine bees having or ants having Mexican accent or English accent? No, they have no accent. And these ants are very little creatures. But amazingly, they know that winter is coming. They know that. All the ants know that winter is coming. Have you seen ants carry food a lot bigger than they are? And you watch them, wow, look at this. You thought some Filipinos are hardworking, they're paid less. These ants are not being paid at all. But they will carry grains much bigger than they are. And they can carry weight much heavier than they are. Of course, they are very light. But this is an amazing creature. He doesn't have a paying job, And yet, look at this, an ant doesn't have a paying job. And yet, what is he known for? Saving. He saves for the winter. The ant doesn't have a paying job, yet he saves. He is very small, yet he thinks very big. Okay? He has a good appetite. Don't raise your hands, but anybody here has good appetite? Okay? This is basically a Filipino church, so we know we have big appetite. The ant has a big appetite, yet he only eats what he needs to eat. For what reason? How come he only eats what he needs to eat? Because he is storing for the winter. He wants to eat it, but he knows winter is coming when he cannot go out and work. So he's very small, yet think this big. He even understands that winter will come whether he likes it or not. And because he is resigned to the fact that winter is coming, he makes preparations for it. In other words, because he was very small with a big need, he does not delay. Every waking moment of this ant is dedicated to addressing what he cannot stop from coming, and that is the winter. So in verse 9, there is a rousing call to a sinner to follow the ant's example. Let's read the whole thing. Okay, Proverbs 6, verse 6. Go to the ant, you slacker, observe its ways and become wise. You don't need to go to University of Chicago here to become wise, okay? Just go to the ant. You don't need to go to Yale or Stanford. God says, you go to the ant and become wise. Look at this ant. Without leader, so of course we have those fables wherein the ant is a marching army with generals. No, the Bible says ants are without leader, without administrator or ruler. The great administrator of Egypt was Joseph, and he facilitated the building of storehouses. It needs an administrator to do that. But here, ants have no administrator or ruler. Sometimes you say, well, we need somebody to lead us. Eat this much, store this much. You know, in my premarital counseling, I tell people, save around 20% of what you make to prepare for emergencies or to prepare for the future. Now, that is already a suggestion, but I'm telling you, most people don't do that, okay? It prepares for provisions in summer, gathers food whenever they are available, but then they don't consume everything. And they just save enough for the winter so that when winter comes, they have food. In Filipino literature, I don't know if it's original or what, but we have this the fable of the ant and the grasshopper. Do you guys remember that? Or you were also delayed in reading it when you were in first grade, okay? So there's this grasshopper and the ant, and the grasshopper refused to store food. And during the winter, this grasshopper color is green, turned blue, dying. He needs food. It was the little ant who saved him. He gave him food. Did the grasshopper learn his lesson? No, he did not learn his lesson. Why? Because he's not an ant, he's a grasshopper, okay? And here, it says here, no administrator or ruler. It prepares its provision in summer. It gathers its food during harvest. How long will you stay in bed, you slacker? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a thief, a robber. Your need like a bandit. Okay? Now listen. This is the word of the Lord here. Our needs, our poverty will come like a robber, and our needs will come like a bandit. When you expect it the least. Nobody can really prepare for a robber because he will not be a robber if you know he's coming. Okay? He will not be a good bandit if you know he's laying in wait for you. But you have to prepare. Because if you're not prepared, when they come, you always say, I thought, what's this? the one who always helped us in the Philippines for Mission Barry, one of our one of the people who helps us in driving around Baguio. We were driving up to Baguio one time during rainy season, and a tree by the side of the mountain collapsed. So it was nobody was moving, and Barry told me, I just have my machete earlier. And for some reason, I did not bring it, he said. I always bring it, but I did not bring it. And just when I need it, it's not with me. He said that. And so we were, I think, second car from the tree. And so we were stuck there. So I said, what's going to happen? Oh, the emergency will come. And when the emergency patrol comes, they will help us remove this. But I remember there are a few people who came out, and they are ready with machete. And they came out, and Barry came out, and borrowed one machete from another car, and they started chopping. And the moment he was able to clear the road for us to pass, he passed. Never finished the job, he passed. He said it's the responsibility of the other drivers. You see, each pitching its own energy to solve the problem. But what is interesting is he said, I always have a machete. Because trees can fall during rainy season, during typhoons and bad weather. And so you need to be prepared. You need to have an umbrella. But how many of us have said, I always bring it with me? I thought it's not going to rain, so I did not bring it. Just when you were not ready, you need it. Well, biblically, that is the job of a slacker. You know, I always laugh at Brother Willie because when he travels, I don't know who is worse, him or my wife. I mean, my wife will bring the whole kitchen. Brother Willie will bring the whole grocery store and the whole pharmacy. You know, if you have diarrhea, you ask Brother Willie, he's got a medicine for it. You're nauseous, he's got a medicine for it. You need an IV, I think he's got an IV system, you know, that anything that you need, he has it. And of course, I'll be laughing at him. Cherry will be laughing and upset with him. And yet, Brother Willie always tells me this. He said, but when they need something, guess who they come to right away? They come to him. Because Daddy has it. You see? What's your? He's not a slacker. And those people who think, we don't need this, we don't need that, we don't need this, they need it. They're the ones who mostly come to need it. Now, of course, you've got to be reasonable with what you bring, but you come to need it. And we are not ready. And there's a spiritual application to this. So slacker knows he needs to get up and work, which is the right thing, yet he sleeps a little bit more as if staying 5 more minutes will make him stronger or grow more, okay? He has no heart to do the right thing. This is why a sluggard or a slacker is compared to a slothful sinner. They know they need to get right with God, but they keep putting this off. I don't know if you have met people who say, I know, I need to live right. Who is this? Who is this guy? The comedian, the black comedian, talk show host, game show host. Who's that? The one that if I want to laugh, I watch. Oh, Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey grew up in a church. His mom brought him to church, his grandma. He's a Christian. He claims to be a Christian. And he said, I know all about choirs in the church. I know all about what they're doing. Yeah, one of the shows that I've watched, somebody was testifying to him that the Lord healed her. And Steve Harvey was crying. And he could not hold his tears. And then he said this. He said, I know I have not been right with God. He said, I need to start getting right with God. Yet watch him show after show. There's no movement. That's an example. A guy knows something has to be done right, and yet keep delaying. I know why people delay. I'll try to give some reasons, but we have this propensity to delay things as if things will change. But we just, even some of the things that is already within our reach, we can already do something about it. I don't know how many parents have asked me, Pastor said, when will you start disciplining your kids? I said, after they're born. I said, the moment they're born, you start disciplining them. You know, because that's the beginning. I start talking to my kids when they were in my mother's womb. And parents normally say, yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't. They don't. I have plenty of time. It's very tiny. It's very small. I have little time. I have little time. My kids right now have a chicken coop, you know. They have a chicken coop, but they don't know anything about chicken. Uh, so I have to teach them a little bit, but especially James is the one feeding most of the time. And James acts like he knows. You know, when a person who's ignorant tries to act like he knows, you want to hit him at the back of the head. So there's a new chicken in the coop, and the old ones, and I warned James. I said, the moment you get the new chicken, the others will oppress him, will persecute him. You know, how did I know? We raise chickens. Okay, after they have grown a little bit, we eat chickens. That's the way it is. So the one that he bought it from gave advice, and certainly what happened is they were pecking on this chicken. And so James was asking me, what will I do? I said, discipline the other chickens. And so what do you mean? He doesn't even want to touch the chicken, you know. He just likes getting the egg. I said, hit it on the head. And you know, James is trying to learn self-defense. He's trying to learn karate. So I said, not like the karate chop, okay, it will die. I said, but hit it on the head, or kick the crown. That's how you do it. Discipline the chicken. How do you do? I said, just hit the head. Well, if you're too smart, you're gonna sue me, animal rights. Then don't eat chicken, okay? These people, I don't know what happened to their brains, you know. They want mercy killing. So I said, just hit the head. Well, yesterday, after I arrived, they were really pecking on this little chicken. So I kicked the fence a little bit, and they scattered and allowed this persecuted chicken to eat. Yeah. And you know, they learn quick. After a couple of kicks on the fence, I will step out. The moment they see me, they run away. Chickens sometimes are more intelligent than people. How many times have parents show their face, angry face to their kids, and their kids don't care? Couple of kicks on the chicken fence, and the chicken knows me already. That is the big dude that we don't have to mess with, you know. Because James says, what are you going to do if they don't obey? We'll eat it. I mean, what's the problem? We'll eat it. I know how to butcher chicken. That's easy to do. Chop the head. I'm not going to go into detail, okay? Somebody calls me a murderer because of that. I was in Hawaii, you know, and the pastor was afraid to butcher a chicken, and the kids called me a murderer, you know. And yet, after the chicken was cooked, they all ate. They are cannibals, you know. The slacker knows that poverty is about to come like a robber or a bandit, yet he still chooses not to do anything about it. How many of you here experience poverty? Huh? Raise your hand if you experience poverty. You didn't experience poverty. Most Filipinos experience poverty, okay? Even if you're not honest. Because most Filipinos lie, you know, so. And yet we know that we don't prepare for it. How many of you, now don't answer this question, go back to the Philippines and act like you're millionaires? You know you're just swiping the cards. You know you're going to be in debt, and you're going to come back to the U.S. and work like ants without savings just to pay off. And yet we never prepare for anything. You see? That is the problem that we have. And the Bible says, go to the ant and learn, because it is not as if poverty will come. Poverty will come. A famous Chinese evangelist was talking to Brother William, and he told me the story. He said that, I think the name is Stephen Tong. He was at one time called the Billy Graham of Asia. And he told Brother Willie, don't give up on the Chinese. You need to evangelize them. And Brother Willie don't like Chinese, but he is Chinese. So he said, Stephen Tong, the one who led him to the Lord, says, hey, listen, don't abandon them because we are different. And he explained, you know, when a Filipino says, I am poor, he is really poor. That means he doesn't have anything. That means not only is he not in the bottom of the barrel, there is no bottom in the barrel. He is poor. You know, if you don't know Filipino, even though you look like one, if a Filipino says, I am poor, that Filipino is poor. I was poor. And so when people say, well, you know, God is teaching you something by being poor, I don't believe that because you don't know what poverty is. But Stephen Tong told Brother Willie, but when a Chinese says, I am poor, that means he only have around 3 million or 5 million pesos in the bank. He calls himself poor. And yet we laugh at a Chinese because if he is selling something and it's a little bit getting old, he will immediately drop the price. And Filipinos are waiting for the price drop. You know? Immediately drop the price, maybe not make any money at all. Their goal is not to make money. They immediately shift. Their goal is immediately not to make money, but to be able to get as much as they can. For example, if their capital on this product is $1, and they are selling it at $3 and nobody bought it, they'll lower it to $2 and nobody's buying it. They'll put it at cost, $1. If nobody buys it, they'll sell it at 50 cents. You say, why are you selling it for a loss? Because I'm about to totally lose it. I'll just gather as much as I can so that I will not be empty. You see, that is a wise person. And sometimes we are looking at poverty, we have been on this road before. We have been looking at moral bankruptcy. You know, very few of us, and maybe there's none of us, who went through a mistake once. We keep doing it over and over again. And yet we refuse to learn. Not that we are not learning. We just refuse to learn. We keep telling ourselves, it will be different this time. It will be different this time. John, you know, I tell my second son, I said, hey, listen, when you're driving your car, you've got to have a feel for it. Because from time to time, I will tell him, I'll drive. I'll tell my kids that. I'll drive. And they think I just don't believe them. Well, I don't believe they know how to drive. I don't believe they have a feel for their car. And I will go to John's car and say, John, you are out of wheel alignment. I said, the moment you keep driving it this way, the other parts of your car will be broken. And I said, do you have the money to pay for it? Because I said, the damage has already begun. It will continue. 2 months later, I drove his car again. It's still out of alignment. I said, did you do anything about it? No. Why? Because he thinks he can say, in Jesus' name, be aligned. No, it won't align. It won't align. And I don't know how many times I have laughed at him when his car broke down. Just laugh at him. But I have told him so many times, that's what we are. Most of the mistakes or the errors we commit is not only once. It is a repeated error. We keep looking at it and we say, next time I'm not going to make the same mistake, but we keep making the same mistake. How many times have we almost go bankrupt? We could not pay our credit cards. We open another credit card to pay our old credit card. And the moment we're out of debt, we do the same thing. I remember the first time me and my wife, not that we waste money, because of the house that we were building and the preparation that we were making for the education of our kids. My wife will always tell me, when I was single, I was never in debt. I always have a savings. And she's got a lot more money than I did when we get. And I told my wife, I never have debts before I got married. Never did, even in America. Never have debts. I mean, even when I was studying at Regent University, I was paying in cash. My first car is a rotten car, but I paid in cash. I was never in debt. I only went to debt after I got married. That's why I keep telling people, marriage is expensive. You know, when people say you will save money after you get married, I don't know what world they're living in. You will not save money. It's just like people saying, hey, the shoes are on sale. Let's save money. How can you save money when you're spending money? But people actually say, hey, I don't care if it's 99% discount. You don't save money. You're still spending money. The moment you swipe that card, you are not saving. You know, when they say, on sale, savings, that's marketing deception. The moment you're spending money, you are not saving. I know why people cannot get into their head. So after we got into this debt, me and my wife will always talk. The moment we said, I will tell my wife, because she's kind of check for the tithes, make sure that we're paying our tithes, make sure we're giving our offering. I said, the moment we are out of debt, we're not going to get back into it. Do you know that I can buy the building in the Philippines easily? Right now. I don't have to raise funds. I can buy it easily. Yeah. I can buy 100 million peso building in the Philippines right now if I want to. But you know what that means? I have to borrow money off of this building. Now, why in the world will I put this church back into debt when after so many years I was able to get it out of indebtedness? I'm not going to transfer this church to a new pastor full of debts just so that we can have a Philippine headquarters. I'd rather not have a headquarters than to put this church back in debt. We are debt-free. Okay? And so I don't want to put it back, meaning I learned my lesson. But how many of us, and after me and my wife were out of debt, we're not getting back into that. But how many of us have repeated the cycle, thinking, oh, we have time. That's why we keep delaying. So, when we understand a slacker, we also understand some of the characteristics of a sinner who delays or refuses to repent. Okay? Why does a sinner who knows there is God refuse to repent? How many, this is a bad terminology, but one of the common phrases that I hear is unwanted pregnancy. So you ask the person with unwanted pregnancy, did you want the sex? And none of them will say they don't. So why do you call it unwanted pregnancy? You wanted the sex. If you don't want the pregnancy, don't have sex. And so because of that, we ruin our bodies. We put all kinds of chemicals, thinking it will not affect us. But you know, the birth rate in America is very low. So, because we think we can delay things. We think we can drink a little bit of vitamin here and a vitamin there, and it will solve the problem. No, it won't. It will even complicate the problem. So why is it that they refuse to repent? Well, let me give you two basic reasons, and then we'll go into other discussions. Number one, some people are just glued to their sin. Even as a slacker is glued to his bed. Parents will tell their children, why are you so glued to your bed? Some people are just so glued to their sin. Even as a slacker is glued to his bed. This, which is also, have you noticed when you're in bed, especially if you're a good sleeper, the moment you sleep, unless you have nightmares, there is really no problem. You can be crying yourself to sleep, but the moment you're asleep, you don't remember any of your debts. How many of you, well, maybe some of you have nightmares about your debts, but you really don't remember. You're fighting with your spouse or your children the moment you go to bed. I remember when I was a little boy and my mother, for some reason I always remember I'm the only one being disciplined all the time. So my mother will whip me and my father will beat me up. And it hurts, so I will cry. You know what's the best thing to do after you cry? You sleep. Yeah, I really sleep well after I'm beaten, you know. So after you sleep, you will wake up and you can see you can feel the moist in your face because of crying. But for some reason, the moment you wake up, at least from my experience, the burden is off until you remember what happened. Then the burden returns. But that's why it's called rest. Sleeping is called rest because it has a way. So what happened now? In the Philippines, we have this saying, itulog mo lang yan. Yeah. Just sleep on it. Yeah. Because we think that it becomes our false security. You know, there's a man that I know that the moment he loses his job, he could not sleep until he find another job. That's my father. My father had lost a couple of jobs. No, he's not educated, so he's not the one who lines up in the office and say, I'll apply for security. His jobs were fisherman, porter, collector. Those are the kind of job that nobody wants to take. But I have, there were, and my father will be always punctual in coming home. I will know when my father's coming home. So there were times my father will not be home yet, and we have no food, and I will ask my mother, "Where's Tatay?" And he will just say, "Well, he told me this morning he's losing his job, and so he will not come home without money and without the possibility of a job." Almost all of the time, the moment he comes home, he's got money, we have food. He may have borrowed the money. At one time, he took it from his mother by force. He needs to feed his family, not from her mother, but from the one who has the money of my mother, of my grandmother. And he said, "I'll pay my mother, but we always have food." And when he goes, he will tell me stories. He will have no money for a jeepney fare. He will just hitch, and then tell the driver right away, "Mang driver, please, I don't have the money, but I need to go somewhere. I'm looking for a job. Would you please just let me hitch?" And my father always tells me, and for some reason I always have favor, they allow me to hitch, and I will not be paying. But he will come home that night with money, and we have food, with the possibility of a job the following morning. If there is no possibility of a job the following morning, he will never be able to sleep. You see, he is not a slacker. He is not a slacker. And he saves money. I was the one who put it in the bank. I remember our apartment one time burned. When it was burning, he just told my siblings and my mother, "Get out of the house." And you know, if you are poor, you want to save everything. You want to save even the little needles and the leftover thread. You want to save everything. But my father says, everybody leave the apartment, because the apartment building, 6-door apartment building was burning. And my father says, everybody leaves. And my mother says, "But this costs money. You need to get it out." And my father says, "Just leave. For as long as everybody is alive, we'll buy everything back." And so my father went to the closet, the little closet, pulled one polo shirt and said, "This is enough." It turned out that polo shirt had 200,000 pesos. He doesn't have bank savings, but he saves money. And said to my mother, "With the money here, I can buy everything that's inside." He's not a slacker. Yeah. He's a drunkard, wasted a lot of money, but never a slacker. Okay, now, a sinner is different. He is glued to his sin. And number two, they completely ignore the imminent danger through sleeping. If you will watch super millionaires or even billionaires, Elon Musk at one time was being interviewed when his company was about to go bankrupt. I think in one of the interviews he said he went for 2 weeks without sleeping. Of course he will take a nap, but he said for 2 weeks. He said, "How?" He said, "I was squeezing my brain trying to find out how am I going to solve it." You know what is annoying is, for example, your children is asking for your help, say their homework. And then they're in the middle of doing their homework or project, and you told them prior that, "Hey, listen, you've got to work on it." And they won't work on it. And here you are helping them, and they says, "I'm really tired. I want to sleep." I don't understand that. You slack up and you want to sleep? You want this homework to be done with you sleeping? It's a miracle if that's get done, you know. But after you have wasted your time, then you say, "I want to sleep." Well, that's a slacker right there. You need to learn how to put off that sleep to solve the problem. You will not die if you don't sleep for one day, you know. But there is already danger, but you ignore it. You ignore it. How many of you drove our cars knowing it has problems and it can give? The last accident that I had, we were going to Oklahoma when I fell asleep behind the wheels. It could have been deadly, you know. I was very upset because of that accident. Because that is the accident that should not have happened. But it's because of a slacker that the accident happened, my wife. Our plan, I did not preach that night because our plan was actually to leave in the morning. I told my wife, Anne, I have problems with my eyes now in the night. I'm having James and DJ drive a lot more for me now, especially during the night. I'm having difficulty reading signs. My eyes is on and off. It just plays a lot of tricks on me now, you know. I think it's tired. But I told my wife we have to leave by 6 a.m. And my wife says, yes, we are. Well, 6 a.m., she's not even awake. And so I started screaming at around 6 a.m. I said, Anne, you know that it's not good for me to be driving at night. And I said, if you do it like this, you bring the whole house, you will be useless to me during driving. Because then, the moment my wife drives, I don't care if I'm sleeping, I can't sleep. If my wife, I felt like death is smiling at me, you know, when my wife is driving. So I cannot sleep. My habit is, when I'm driving, if I get tired, I'll pull over and sleep for around 15 minutes. In fact, if I tell my kids, when we're having long driving, I'm about to take rest now. The moment I pull over and lean back, they don't talk. I say, I'll take a nap for 15 minutes, silence in the car. Because if they make noise, I will not be able to sleep. That's how it became 12. I keep telling my wife, Anne, you know I have difficulty driving at night. And I said, 30 minutes more. And then, well, do that. Oh, I'm tired. Because she slept. Wake me up after 30 minutes. You wake her up. Oh. And then the service ended. I did not preach that night. The service ended. We are still home. So I told my wife, Anne, you know it's not good for me to be driving at night. Oh, I'm going to keep you awake. I said, Anne, I don't believe you. I really don't. You know, some of you have difficulty telling your wives you don't believe them. I don't. You know, there are certain things that your significant others are not believable in. Don't lie. So if my wife says, I'll keep you awake, I said, no, I don't believe you. Because she will fall asleep first. The moment her back leans on something, and she says she doesn't snore, well, who is it that I hear snoring beside me? I mean, it's not another woman. I look at her, it's my wife. She snores, you know. And I said, Anne, I don't believe you. I said, you should have allowed me to sleep. And so, just a couple of hours from our destination, I could not handle it anymore. I fell asleep. You know, when I fell asleep, this is the problem. All of them are asleep. They're supposed to keep me awake. When that happens, and you know, my wife will make excuse. I said, you are the reason. I told you we should have left by around 6 a.m. We left past 9 p.m. That is 15 hours later. What happened? That accident. That's why now Joseph is very worried when I was driving the truck back. He took 2 days off so that he can drive with me to make sure that I'm safe. And so now Joseph is the one concerned. Whenever I'm driving, he'll call me, are you okay, Papa? Are you taking your rest? Because my body has changed. You see? And I understand that. But when you keep slacking, when you keep putting off things, by the way, did everything that she brought with her, did we use it? 90% of those we did not use. Yeah. That's the job of a slacker. Okay. By the way, most of the things that you say you're busy about, you don't need. How come we don't throw away things in our house? Because we think we need them. When was the last time you saw it? If you need anything from my house, my wife will tell you we have it. Question is, where is it? We have everything. Yeah. You want toothpick, green color, we have it. It's somewhere. You have straws made out of plastic, we have it. It's somewhere. You want expired medicine, we have it too. You want antibiotic, we have it. Whatever Whatever you need, we have it. Where is it? I have no idea. Over 90% of what we waste our time on, we don't need. I'm going to organize it. No, we're not organizing. Most of us don't know what the meaning of the word is. We're actually disorganizing. And the more difficult our lives is, make it simple. That's why I like that acronym, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, you know. Because the moment you complicate things, it becomes, your life becomes very wild. We need to therefore understand that delays are very dangerous, especially in matter of eternal concern. This is why I question the message today that lacks the urgency. Sometimes we preach like sinners have plenty of time. By the way, we deal with our family members who are not in the Lord as if there's plenty of time. We really do. I don't know. I don't know where in the world this attitude came from. You cannot brag about tomorrow. God can require our lives today. I mean, I'm ready to go anytime. Whenever I talk about that, my wife will be upset. I said, why are you upset about? We're born again. But I have to, look, Pat Robertson was one of those who are believing that he will live, I think, up to 120 years. He died before he turned 100. Okay? Jerry Sabel was believing to live longer. Who is this? John Austin, my favorite pastor, was believing to be alive until 110. I don't know why 110. 110. He's got 4 triple heart bypass. Now, the guy is very diligent. He's got a son who's a doctor. But if the doctor says you need a bypass operation, he has it right away. 4 heart bypass. Okay? And the last time I saw him, you know he's weak, he's old, he's shorter than me. And so you know that he's really, but he is fit. You can say that. And then he died. Not reaching the age of 100. Kenneth Copeland is believing God that he will be alive until 120. He is very diligent with his health. He has a tread machine that he uses every day. He's got a doctor, a health coach. And you see Copeland, he's really fit. He really looks very well. All of them, they really look very fit, and they eat good food. And observing all of this, Jezebel died of heart attack. Because the Bible tells us you cannot brag about tomorrow. How come we act like we will live forever? When God called me into the ministry, and I was witnessing to my family and they're not being saved, I fasted 3 times, I think, or 2 times. I told the Lord, I'm not going to go anywhere until my family is saved. And I brought them to the Lord within 2 years. And I thought that was too long. Can you imagine if my father was not born again, and then I went to the U.S. to study? Because a few months later, he died on a freak accident. Yeah. But I had peace because I wasn't able to go home because my papers were not finalized yet. But my father is not dead. He's with Jesus right now. And he's the member of my immediate family that first went home to be with the Lord. You know, my other 2 brothers are with the Lord now. So I have a family waiting for me up there already. And I'm very sure they are born again. You see? But I did not wait. Even my brothers who are victimized or fell into all kinds of vices and died, I want to make sure that they're born again. Because they can die anytime. How come we deal with our family members and loved ones as if we control the time? Yeah, as if we control the time. There is no urgency. Well, if there's no urgency, you need to get born again. You know, I know you're young. Well, have you heard of babies who die after they're born? But we act as if, some of you act like you have all time in the world. You don't. Sin has permeated our world so much, sin is death. That means death is all around us all the time. Destruction is all around us all the time. You know, when I think it was I don't know if it was the 6 Day War, or what war was that, that Israel lost all of their air force. The the veterans in Israel who taught us this said that that was a sad time in their history because they were the superior air power in the Middle East. He said nobody, not Egypt, not Syria, not Jordan, can beat them. So they said, and these are old people now, and I even, because of what's going on right now, I even saw some of them because, the archaeologists helped in what they were doing there because of their expertise. Some of the people that were interviewed, I recognized them because a couple of them actually were my teachers. These are people with PhDs in archaeology, and they were helping the nation of Israel. I remember them telling us this. They said, because we were so powerful, they said, we relaxed. We forget that our enemy wants us dead. Yeah. They forgot the enemy wants us dead. You know how much they forgot? Some of the American Jews even donated, I don't know how many millions of dollars to Gaza Strip because they said, well, maybe if we can give them this and that, they will stop hating us. Yeah, right. Look what they did October 7th. And the blame game. Why is it? Who is sleeping on duty? How come nobody knows? Because they're supposed to know. Supposed to know. But on that war, because they thought they were superior, what they didn't know is this. Russia has developed, I don't know how they call it, the anti-rocket thing that is shoulder mount, not the Iron Dome, but anti-aircraft rockets. Russia had developed this new equipment, and Israel didn't know it exists. So before that war, Russia flooded those 6 Arab countries with this weapon, and their air force was decimated. You know how they survived? And they recognized it. It's because of the power of God. Because nobody can take that land away from Israel right now. Nobody. That is going to be permanent. That's biblical prophecy. Okay? The only thing that I'm waiting for is actually the return to the Lord. Because the moment they return to the Lord, then Jesus is back. Their Messiah has come. Okay? So, that is biblical prophecy. But we can handle it. And this is how some of us, we think our children will live forever. You know, you have heard me say this. I hope you're learning from this. My kids can backslide tomorrow. That's why I'm very strict with them. I'm not one of those who says, well, my kids are angels. No, my kids are not angels. They're saints, they believe in the Lord, but they can backslide tomorrow. That's why I see a sign of the devil in them, I cast it out right away. I deal with it right away. I'm not one of those who sleeps on duty. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. We have no more sense of urgency. The way we are taking care of ourselves. Do we have this sense of urgency? Why do we brag so much about tomorrow? Yeah. Those who are overweight and will say, well, I'll do it tomorrow, after the holidays. Well, we have more holidays than holidays. And you know, today is August, right? What's the month after August? Filipinos start preparing for Christmas in September. That's the beginning of the holidays. It ends when? February. Anong klaseng Pasko yan? September to February is our Christmas celebration. Yeah. We prepare for that. And so if you're waiting for no holiday, so I will lose weight, you will never lose weight. You cannot keep on delaying. You see? But the moment you have that attitude, oh, I have to, well, you will already have a heart attack. It will catch up on you. And the moment it catches up on you, you don't have the strength anymore. You see? I keep telling myself, and me and my wife will talk, because we have 5 kids, and we can't live this world in debt. and our kids will be left off to pay for our indebtedness. I said, it's not fair. Our parents didn't leave us debts. It's not fair that I will leave them debts. And so we pray hard and we work hard so that we'll be debt free. And we pray hard and work hard with you guys so that this church will not be in debt. Now that we're out of debt, I'm not a fool. I'm not going to put this church back in debt. But I can buy the headquarters tomorrow. We have the ability to do that. The Lord has blessed us. But I have to put this church in debt. No, I'm not going to put this church in debt. Okay, I'm not going to put this church in debt. Done with that. You see? Lesson learned. Okay? And this is what I mean. Stop delaying. So, how does ruin then comes to a person who keeps delaying? Number one, it comes swiftly. It comes like a robber. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 3. They will exploit you in their greed with made-up stories. Their condemnation pronounced long ago is not idle. Their destruction does not sleep. By the way, the enemy of our soul, the book of Revelation says he works double time because he knows his time is short. Now, the devil knows his time is short. We don't know that our time is short. If the devil's time is short, our time is short. Okay? Our time is short. Well, it was just like yesterday, actually. I was very healthy. I felt like I was the longest that I did not sleep and just keep working. I think it was 3 days or something like so ridiculous like that. That's when I collapsed in front of everybody in the pulpit. I mean, I was just young and strong and stupid, you know. For as long as I can eat rice, counting ulam lang, basta you fill your stomach with rice, you think the moment you feel you're full, you think you're healthy. And no, you can be full but very unhealthy, you know. And I push myself. I want to do everything. So 3 days without sleep, literally without sleep. You know, I was hosting foreigners. I was bringing them around. Thank God we have a driver. And I just collapsed in the pulpit in front of everybody, around over 2,000 people. I just collapsed in front of everybody. Humiliated me, embarrassed me. Lesson learned. After that, I started taking care of my body. But when you are a slacker, that's when you begin to put off these things. But listen, distraction is like a thief. It's always waiting. Remember what I told you? That when COVID hits, and all of this, and we're not out of it yet, our economy is really tanked. And it's really bad, you know. Don't listen to those politicians, they're liars. But we really have a bad economy. Okay? Now, listen to this. I told you guys, save 3 months at least. Without the raising of the hands, how many of you saved 3 months? I know a couple of you who did save for 3 months. But how many of you did not even save a thing? We are not out of this yet. I mean, for as long as Biden and Harris will continue to have the border wide open for terrorists to come, and for all of those undocumented to come and give them checks, give them housing, give them health care, give them everything without working here a day in their lives. You see? And we are supposed to be forced to pay more taxes. This is going to continue to go down if you have no savings. And by the way, some people are having difficulty now. Of course, with all their lies, we found out that the job reports they made are actually lies. I mean, if you don't see that by now, you're really blind. But if you don't save, there's nothing to pull. You know, so I have prepared. My wife and I are prepared, and a couple of you are prepared. But if you're not prepared, that's on you. You can cry out to God all you want, but that's on you, because you have been warned. By the way, when we study the word of the Lord, we have to have faith. We have to believe that we want to hear from God. And so you need to have the faith that what we are studying is from the Lord. Otherwise, what's the use of coming here? Go somewhere else where you believe you can hear the message from the word of the Lord. You see? Otherwise, you're wasting your time here. I take these things seriously. That's why I pray for the messages. I pray for our spirits, for our preparations, Because I believe that God will not do anything unless He tells His servants, the prophets. So, when poverty comes, it's like when misfortune comes, it comes swiftly like a rubber. It also comes silently and surprisingly. Now somebody was saying, I'm feeling a little headache. It's just lack of sleep. It's lack of food. Just keep working. That headache doesn't leave. Yeah. And then one day, he just collapsed. Dead. George was playing basketball with this black pastor in Virginia. Around 35 years old. Healthy as a donkey, but I don't know why I said that, but just healthy. And we were playing basketball. And one day, I was going to the office, and my supervisor says, who said that black pastor, 35 years old, I told you about, playing basketball in good health, no sickness, no medication? I said, yeah. We were playing ball. He took a jump shot, collapsed. Died right away. Massive heart attack. No previous heart problem. It turned out it's inside. Now, he's already in heaven, but who knows what he felt? Oh, it's nothing. Some of us never even finished college. We feel something, we say, it's nothing. We barely passed high school. Some of us who finished college, barely finished college. And suddenly you feel something, you say, it's nothing. Who in the world are you to say it's nothing? Who do you think you are to say it's nothing? You're not a doctor. You're not a medical doctor. You don't have the expertise. You don't even have the X. Okay? And then you will say it's nothing. You have no right to, unless you have the medical qualifications, unless you pass the board exam and you are actually trained to be a doctor, to diagnose these things, you have no right to be diagnosing. Because you're playing with people's health. And you're playing with your health. Okay? Because this knowledge is even given by God. But then we diagnose ourselves. Oh, it's nothing. I can bet Jerry Sabel is confessing his faith, and yet on that last preaching, he felt so tired. And I admire him for his faith. I have his books. I mean, he's one of the faith people that you will really admire. And then this thing came silently. Some people are just sleeping and never wake up. Who's this? The husband of Tita Marife. They were just sleeping, right? And then I think he was coughing, asking for water, and that's it. That's it. And the doctor just said, "You're okay. We're going to do the things." Just like that. You can never boast about tomorrow. Translate that in spiritual urgency. Who told you that because you are young, God cannot require your life? God can say, "You fool, tonight I'm demanding your soul." And so sometimes when we witness to others, we give, okay, you can go, you have 20 more years. How old are you? 30? Oh, God is given 70 years to 80 years. You have 50 more years. Who told you that? Don't be teaching like that. There is an urgency. So it will come silently and surprisingly. That's why when somebody is diagnosed among us with sickness, we say, that's a surprise. Actually, not a surprise. You're feeling something already. You keep ignoring it. Why do you say it's a surprise? My father was never had any liver problem. But if he got sick, well, he didn't go to the doctor because he was always healthy. But if, for example, my father went to a doctor and the doctor says, "You have a liver problem," do you know I will not even be surprised? He was a drunkard all his life. So if a doctor says, "You have a liver problem," in fact, if a doctor tells my father, "You have tuberculosis," I will not be surprised. Why? Because he drank with people with tuberculosis. You know how drunkards are in the Philippines? They pass on one glass and just keep drinking from the same glass. So you taste their phlegm and their saliva. That's covenant among drunkards. And so if you say you're sick, you will not be surprised. And some of us says, "Well, I'm surprised." Don't lie to yourself. When you say surprise, you're seeing signs already. You know, when our kids, when our spouses are going south, we say, I'm surprised. No, you're not. You're seeing signs. And we keep delaying the correction. We think by delaying the correction, it will correct by itself. No, it won't. You know, some of the pains I'm suffering in my body is because after my last accident in the Philippines, I was not given the proper treatment in physical therapy. The doctor, I was still in pain and so much problem, and the doctor says, you can go home now. Don't return. I says, doctor, I'm not all right. No, you're okay now. I know I wasn't okay. I mean, the physical therapy equipment was donated, all of it, by Australia to University of the Philippines, UPPGH. And I was among the first recipients of that donation from Australia. Brand new physical therapy equipment. And the doctor just simply told me, doctor, I'm still in pain. No, you can go home now. You can go home. You can go. You know, with all of the pains I'm feeling, but I went for X-ray. I went for, what's the other one? Yeah, something like that. I was telling my doctor, I'm really feeling the pain. Well, I don't see anything. I said, do something else. I was demanding, do something else. You know the problem? Insurance. The insurance won't pay for it. Yeah. I mean, the insurance have robbed a lot of money from me. Won't even do it. Until finally, one doctor is a Christian, very cooperative. I gained favor. He said, I know you're in pain, and I've seen cases like this. He said, I'll write up something so you'll have an MRI. I get an MRI. They found the problem. Yeah, they found the problem. After years of suffering, I wasn't ignoring it. You see? When you see something wrong, I'll tell you something. Something is wrong. Okay? When you feel something is wrong, I'll tell you something. Something is wrong. Don't lie to yourself. Confront it. It's better to go through pain now and he'll later enjoy your life. Because if you keep ignoring it, then you will live in pain for the rest of your life. And you'll find somebody to blame. You know? Now, in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 1, one who becomes stiff-necked after many reprimands will be shattered instantly beyond recovery. So, for example, if you have been warned several times, this is Bible. This is Proverbs 29:1. One who becomes stiff-necked after many reprimands will be shattered instantly beyond recovery. You know, sometimes we make false promises and we say, oh, for as long as you're alive, there is hope. No. It says here, if you are being reprimanded all the time and you refuse to listen, you will be shattered instantly. While you're alive, you'll be shattered instantly. So we keep telling people, oh, you know, they're young, they're this, they're that. No, if so many reprimands have gone and you refuse these reprimands, the Bible says you will be beyond recovery. That's what the Bible says. Now, it cannot be resisted. The word robber or bandit here, actually in Hebrew, is an armed man. It can't be resisted. If somebody is pointing a gun at you, I mean, you'll just raise your hands. Because that's a great plus for him. I don't care if you know karate. If somebody points a gun at you, forget your karate, James. Well, he knows guns too. So, but if I don't care if you're black belt or super black belt, if there's such a thing. I don't care if you are 8th dan and you're a grandmaster and you've spent 50 years of your life is practicing martial arts. That bullet doesn't ask, what is your rank? No, the moment it leaves the barrel of the gun to whom it may concern. And it will penetrate whatever it hits. You see? So, it cannot be resisted. It's like a bandit, an armed man. So those 3 points, it comes swiftly like a robber, it comes silently and surprisingly, and can't be resisted. Those 3 points point to the fact that delay is a soul-ruining path among those who hear or have heard the gospel. That's why in the book of Hebrews says, today when you hear his voice, listen. Don't be like those Israelis in the day of provocation when they were warned and they suffer. Because the moment the word of the Lord is given to us and the warning is given to us, it's now up to us. And the Lord, hey, fix your attitude. I know how many times we tell our kids, fix your attitude. Learn how to smile. Why? Because if you're applying for a job and you're frowning, by the way, do you know how ridiculous our site right now is? You know there are job interviews now, okay? There are job interviews now wherein the parent comes. Seminar that I went to, I was shocked when they were telling us this. But one of them is in the HR, he's in charge of hiring. He said one day, he said, the parent came. I was interviewing this guy for a job. And from time to time, the mom will say something. And he said, I have to be polite. I'm head of the HR. I have to be polite and I have to accommodate. But he said, the moment they left, he said, I just says, no way. Yeah. That bad. Okay? That bad. We are conditioning our children to be lazy and irresponsible. Yeah. And we think we are the Savior, that we will save them anytime they're in trouble. Well, parents, let me ask you this question. Do you know if you are still going to be alive tomorrow? Nobody can guarantee that. That's why we have to do the right thing. My father, when he was shot and took care of him in the hospital for a month or over a month, he keeps telling me while he was struggling for his life, Jose, I have to leave this hospital because he was shot. And he said, I have to leave this hospital. I've got to be well again. I said, Dad, relax. It's going to be okay. He said, I have to. I said, why? He said, you have siblings that are younger than you, 5 of them. He said, Jose, they have not been to college yet. They're not ready for life. You know, I was still in college, but he thought I was a very responsible man. So my mother relies on me a lot. So he said, your siblings, they're young. I have to send them to school. And so he was struggling for his life. I have to send them to school. They have to. That's why when Joseph was trying to change his course, I gave him the same talk in a gist that my father gave me. I told Joseph, if you're going to change course, I told you have 5 years to finish college because it's engineering. If it's not engineering, 4 years flat. You have to finish college. Okay? I said, if you extend, I said, you're on your own. I told Joseph, you pay for it. You borrow, you pay for it. I said, because Joseph, you have other siblings. I cannot spend more money on you and disadvantage them. That's what I told Joseph. Now that's a serious talk between, and by the way, Joseph knows I'm not a jokester in terms of these things. So he looked at me and says, yes, Papa, finish school in 5 years. Yeah. And now he's on his own. He even got a wife, you know. And by the way, I'm about to become a grandfather also. You know. The guy is good. Huh? And I'm not withholding anything from that. But he's on his own now. Kayla has prepared herself. I think she's about to take her board exam, right? This Tuesday. You know, I don't have an ounce of worry about them. Not an ounce. Don't have it. Yeah. They have been prepared. Not only being to have their house prepared her well. We have prepared Joseph well. So I have 2 complete individuals, not a worry. My wife is the one who worries, and I look at my wife. Why are you worried? They have better beginning than us when we get married. You see? Well, I have other stooges now that are still with me, you know. And their time will come, but don't delay. Some of you put off discipline of your kids too late now. You'll just suffer for the rest of your lives. You did not listen to the word of the Lord when you first came here. Yeah. And that's an example in itself regarding the scriptures. The Bible is true. You have to believe it. You know, the redemption of all of these days, God is merciful, but you cannot waste His goodness. You have a part, you have to do it. You have confront the problem. Don't delay. Deal with it. After you deal with it, the Lord will give you mercy. But if you become smarter than God, then you're more foolish than you think. It's not going to work. You have to believe God. You have to believe His word. And it will pay. And you will experience the word of the Lord in your life. Okay. Well, I have more things to say, but I have less time already. So, did you learn something this morning? Praise God. Let's all stand.